Hello, I'm Ghost, I'm your host, and it's the spooky season, the season of horror, and horror's my jam. So, today, I thought I'd combine, horror and gaming. Who would have thought of that? A lot of people. But I've decided that I'd talk about some of my personal favorite pre-horror games that I think are very worth your time to celebrate Halloween and the spooky season. So, I'm gonna cut the bullshit, I'm just gonna get to it. I know you're not here for an intro, so we'll just start, but, thanks for clicking. Let's go. What is the scariest place on Earth? A cemetery? An airport during spring break? Your mom's sex toy drawer? No, you're wrong. It's hotels. Not only are those places absolutely friggin' filthy, but guess what else? They're satanic now! Room 202 is a little short game where you go to a hotel or a motel, I don't actually think it's specified, but you're looking for a room to stay just one night. No more. No, just one night, you know? So anyways, they throw you in room 203, not 202. You're lame. Come on, keep up. So anyway, so now that you're in room 203, you decide to take a shower, go to bed, enjoy your night, but then you wake up in the middle of the night hearing some sick fucking beats. And these sick fucking beats are way too fucking loud. So you decide, hey, I think that's from the room across the hall, room 202. So you get out and you walk up to that there door and you're like, hey man, shut the fuck up. But then you start hearing the rave and the jams and all that, but also screaming and yelling, and that's terrifying. So you go back and rather than, getting the fuck out of the hotel, you know what you gotta do? You call the receptionist at the desk and you go, hey man, I'm in room 203 and there's some weird shit going on in room 202, man. I think you should look into that. And then he goes, room 203 is vacant. What the fuck? And then we cut out and then you decide, hey, you know what the next most reasonable thing is, rather than just walking down the flight of stairs to go say hi to the receptionist and be like, hey man, what the fuck's going on? No, you're gonna take your film camera, walk on to the over to the room and see if the door's open. So, as you do if you hear screaming in a room, you walk on in and film to see a little demon. Ooh, freaky, scary, terrifying, isn't it? So you walk your way down the hallway trying to get away from it because, it jumps at you and closes the door. So you're obviously going to decide to get the fuck out of there. You see a woman get dragged into another room because room 202, I guess, isn't the only haunted room. And you walk down a big long hallway, chase sequence, stuck in some weird room. Room becomes an actual hallway to a nice place. The normal hotel, an upright cross, but then the cross turns around, and boom, you're back in Satan, and you die or something. And a guy's holding the door shut, just like you did at the beginning. I don't really understand what the ending's supposed to be. All I know is that I'm fairly fucking certain that you're gonna die. So, Room 202 is a nice little short game with a lot of cool vibes and also the most generic spooky text imaginable. Seriously, did they get that shit on fucking Google Docs? It's so stupid and it honestly ruins the immersion partially. It's kind of bothersome. It's just really goofy. They also don't know how to use proper grammar on like 70% of the occasions that they actually have dialogue shown on the screen. It's like no punctuation, but they do have like commas and apostrophes sometimes, but it's like no periods or anything or exclamation points. It's just really annoying. They have it's very stupid, but ultimately I actually do think that the game is worth it, considering that it is a at least currently free game. On itch.io it's 100% off, but it seems as though it's always been free. It's pretty entertaining. It's got some cool vibes. The monster has a cool design, and it honestly flows really well. It's a nice short game, only takes like around 10 minutes to beat, and honestly, if you're looking for something interesting to play, I think it's worth it. I am a really cool motherfucker who is absolutely hot. Okay, maybe not. But regardless of my unfortunate experience, Boofys Bunker is not only an extremely nostalgic horror game for me, but one of my personal favorite horror games that I've played in my life. Now, despite some balancing issues, Boofys Bunker is just a very addictive game with a lot to do. In the game, you have a bunch of modes: the back rooms, the maze, the kitchen, the arcade, and the standard bunker. Along with this, you also have a custom mode where you can select what enemies are active and what mode you're playing. The story of the game isn't really why you're going to come to play Boofys Bunker. Essentially, you're a dude who got this plush named Boofy, and he's a silly little guy from his grandmother, and then his grandmother dies, and he kind of just ends up in this world. It's a weird little whole... It's a whole thing. But it's not really the reason you're going to come to play this game. You're going to come to play this game for its really good gameplay loop, because this is a game where you can easily get hundreds of hours out of it, despite the fact that it is, you know, your standard kind of like, don't get caught by the enemy horror game. It unironically gives you so much to do, so many difficulties, so many different modes, and throw in the custom mode, and it's just endlessly playable and super fun and very charming. There's also a lot of Easter eggs to get, and when I say a lot, I mean there is a lot of Easter eggs to get. It is not an easy task to get them all, which is why I haven't. My editor did. I don't have the patience. I did twice. Yeah, he did twice, because he's insane. Also, the difficulties actually provide, like, solid differences in gameplay. If you're playing on Extreme or Impossible, the gap in difficulty between that and, say, like, hard mode or, like, your standard normal difficulty is massive. Impossible is genuinely wildly difficult. I couldn't imagine beating it. My editor beat it. He's gonna flex it, so I'm just gonna get it out of the way. I beat it 5 times. He beat it 5 times, but also we don't like him. We don't like my editor. Don't listen to him. Unless he's talking about how good this game is. Because, yeah, Boofys Bunker is a genuinely fantastic game. Jace's made a bunch of games. Unfortunately, most of them you can't get. Boofys is still there, and Boofys is, in fact, at least in my opinion, the best game he's made. You may also know him for associating and helping out with Dave Microwave Games and his various projects, which will lead me into the next game. Around the Clock at Bikini Bottom is a game that is genuinely insane, because this is a free game. A free fucking game. And it is a full game. I am not kidding. You will have hours put into beating every individual level. Every individual level has vastly different mechanics, and the game is just really polished. I mean, I've played AAA horror games that have much worse aspects than even the worst aspects of Around the Clock at Bikini Bottom. Dave Microwave Games is probably most known for his other SpongeBob horror games. Probably 3 AM at the Krusty Krab is the one that you'd be most familiar with. When that came out, everyone was playing it. Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, all these people. But Around the Clock at Bikini Bottom is the ultimate flex of his game-making skills. He also made it with Padre Snowmizzle, who's also worked on a bunch of horror games in that little circle. Just throwing out the credit there. The strongest part of Around the Clock at Bikini Bottom is definitely the amount of content it gives you. Now, obviously, it has its main game, but there's a lot more to do than just that in each individual level. It doesn't overwhelm you with content to the point that it's actually problematic, though. It gives you the perfect amount to make you want to come back and play through the game again, without bogging you down in all of these Easter eggs and challenges and all that shit. There's a lot there, though. I mean, there's an uncensored mode, there's all sorts of special items you can get in each individual level, there's just so much content, different challenges like no dying, or collect all of these things, or those things. It's really fun, and the game actually has just straight up boss fights. Plus, it actually has a good bit of atmosphere. Its atmosphere is genuinely quite thick. So, you know, when you're off searching for whatever you're looking for, whether it be an Easter egg or an actually mandatory thing, it genuinely feels pretty creepy, despite the fact that, yes, it's a fucking SpongeBob horror game. It also, as is with most of Jay's and Dave's games, is genuinely quite funny when it wants to be. There's also a really cool speedrunning community, and the only reason I bring this up is because, yes, once again, my editor is an active member of it. And it's a really cool community with a lot of genuinely nice people in it that are really interested in playing this game. And Dave has let a lot of the speedrunning skips run because, you know, it's brought a lot of attention to the game, and it's a good community that's genuinely a really skillful one. Around the Clock at Bikini Bottom is absolutely, without a doubt, worth the free price tag. It will give you so much content, and it's genuinely so fun that if you have a computer and you're looking for some fun games to play, go to Game Jolt and get it right now. Rosis, Put Yourself Back Together is a multiplayer horror game meant for you and a buddy. And it's on Steam, and it is free. And it is tons of fun. Not only does it have a really unique and cool pixel art style, but it's also just a really, really atmospheric game as you wander through these hallways looking for the cauldrons to create this human, and as these horrendous creatures come at you and try and kill you. Rosis is a multiplayer horror game, and only a multiplayer horror game. You and a friend need to work together to accomplish really anything. Splitting up will result in failure. If one of you dies, the level restarts. One of you will have a flashlight, and one of you will have a camera. When monsters are illuminated by the flashlight, most of them will stop, though not all of them. Meanwhile, the camera person has to focus the camera on them and take a picture, which will kill the enemy. Some enemies are much harder than others to eliminate, though. The game is genuinely challenging, and there is DLC, which has a lot of content, but just the free part of the game genuinely took me about 45 to 50 minutes to complete, just because these enemies are genuinely threatening motherfuckers. I mean, seriously, it's not a cakewalk by any means. And the game pretty much immediately leaves you wanting more, which does make the cheap DLC worth it. Rosis, I think, is attempting to make some type of commentary. I believe that the DLC is largely making a commentary on sex, however I believe that the main game is actually making a commentary on just general body image, as when you are killed, these things come up on screen, these pieces of text that definitely leave you thinking. And it's definitely a maturely made game. It's very well crafted and intelligently done, and despite the fact that there isn't tons of variety in what you're doing, it gives you enough to do that you feel satisfied. Not only is this game a lot of fun, but it will provide you a solid, relatively short, thoroughly enjoyable experience that I highly recommend it.
Hey guys, it's me, God, here to talk to you about Bad Parenting #1, Mr. Redface. Bad Parenting seems to be a series basically consisting of 4 stories, each about parents doing awful things to kids, and the kids somehow ends up dying in a horrible way. And honestly, the first game, Bad Parenting #1, Mr. Redface, is very, 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 very good. I played it for one of my videos, and in a video where basically almost every game was either meh or just straight up awful, this game really stood out, and I love it so much. You might have seen it as, 8-Bit Ryan played it, and it's been called, like, the most depressing horror game, which is completely fair. If you don't know what you do in Mr. Redface, basically you try to save your parents from Mr. Redface, a guy who kidnaps parents that are bad, and basically, just locks them up. He doesn't really kill them, he just kind of locks them up. Now, you may be thinking, well, that really doesn't seem like a scary premise. The scary part of this aspect isn't from Mr. Redface himself. It's the fact that Mr. Redface is actually the kid's father, and the kid's father kills the kid in a drunken rage. And basically, this entire time, this kid is carrying around a doll of himself, which has a snap neck, and then at the end, all the puzzle pieces get connected. and you realize, oh crap, the doll was actually the kid the entire time with a snap neck. And also, basically this game combines all aspects together, and I won't spoil how other aspects of the game go into them, because it was a really big surprise. It was really interesting when I played it, so definitely go play this game yourself. It's completely free. It has an awesome kind of old school art style. I can't really describe it, but it's awesome. Very sad though, so save this for a night when you want to remember that the true monster isn't the monsters, it's us. Bye.
Let's be honest here, not everybody has time to sit down and play a long-ass full game like, say, ATC or Boofys Bunker. Sometimes you're stuck with very little time to play. But, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to. Enter September 1999, a 6-minute long game that's genuinely fantastic. Now, you may have heard of 98 Mate, the creator, for his game OK Normal. That's a much bigger game, and you also have to pay for it. But September 1999 is the pinnacle of short horror and suspense. It also is graphically really cool. So essentially, y'all remember PT? Yeah, I remember PT, where you walk through the house and it just keeps changing and gets creepier and creepier and creepier. This is similar to that. You're stuck in a really small little apartment building of some sort, in a room, and you start in the bedroom and you walk around, and eventually, as time goes on, it will cut to static and bring you back to the room with things changed. Starts off pretty normal until suddenly things get more and more disturbing, leading to dismembered body parts and horrible blood everywhere around the room, and police everywhere. The game ends with you on the ground, hearing a chainsaw in the background. The game is seriously intense, and it builds this tension really well, as it makes it seem like it's just kind of lame and tiresome, until it suddenly explodes in such a cruel and gruesome way. The game is gnarly and genuinely quite immersive, and it accomplishes this in only 6 minutes. September 1999 is very much worth your 6 minutes. It will be a good experience, and I can guarantee you that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my video. I hope that you'll check out some of these games. Again, it's the spooky season. If you don't usually, and you're starting to feel interested, now's the best time to do so. I love horror, and I'm really glad that I can share some of these games with you and hopefully bring some attention to some of these, because they do deserve more people playing them. Well, I hope you've had a good time, and I wish you the best.